What's going on, guys? You're watching The Hungry Handgunner. I'm Nick. Today is going to be another segment for the new handgun owner videos that I've been making. A lot of them have been focusing on fundamentals, grip, stance, sight alignment. There's going to be a link to a playlist with all that in the description, so feel free to check that out. But today is going to be strictly focused on safety. Had somebody ask me, why didn't you lead with that? Over the years, I've noticed that as soon as people start talking about safety or things like that, people zone out. So I tried to sprinkle in some of the pertinent stuff with the other things, but today we're just going to focus on safety. So to start things off, I want to stress the importance of knowing how to clear your weapon or verify whether it's loaded or unloaded. And we're going to do this with both a revolver and a semi-automatic. So to start things off, this is my FN57 semi-automatic pistol. We're going to go ahead, we're going to press the magazine release. It's going to be in different places on different guns. Refer to your owner's manual or have a trusted friend or family member help you out there. But press the magazine release, take the magazine out. As you can see, the magazine is loaded. One big mistake people make from here, they assume the gun's unloaded. That's not true. This particular gun has a magazine disconnect safety, meaning that it can't fire unless the magazine's in, but most guns are not that way, and that's not really something you want to train yourself to rely on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring the chamber or the slide to the rear and open up the chamber, and we're going to visually look inside and make sure there's not a round in the chamber. So hopefully you guys can see that on the barrel or on the camera there. There is no round in the chamber. So now that we have verified that there's no magazine and there's no round in the chamber, the gun is cleared. So now I'm going to show you how to do that with a revolver. For that, I've got my Ruger GP100 out here. It's a 357 Magnum. Same thing, there's going to be a release to bring the cylinder out. A lot of times with the Rugers, you're going to push the button in. With Smith & Wessons, you're going to push the button forward, and with Colts, you're going to pull the button back. And then some revolvers will have a retaining pin here that's spring-loaded. You'll have to pull it out and then flip the cylinder out. So I'm going to push this button and get the cylinder to swing out, and I can verify that there are no rounds in any of those holes. I'll show that to you guys on camera there. There's nothing in there. So now we know that the revolver is clear. Now the cylinder on a revolver is basically a collection of chambers, so nothing's going to be in the barrel itself as far as a live cartridge. There's going to be 4 main firearm safety rules that are you just have to keep in mind. They're absolutely necessary. It's going to be treat every weapon as if it were loaded. So for instance, we just verified that this gun was unloaded, but we're still going to treat it with respect, still treat it as if it were loaded. And that's going to go a long way towards minimizing potential issues down the road. The other thing we're going to talk about is keeping your finger off the trigger and out of the trigger guard area. The rule actually states keep your finger off the trigger, but I've modified it a little bit. Don't put your finger in the trigger guard area, and that's going to be this ring right here around the trigger until you're ready to fire. You can index your finger along the side of the gun and keep it there until it's time to pull that trigger. The third rule is never point your firearm at something or someone that you're not willing to destroy. These are tools, not toys, and they do a good job at what they do, which is namely sending lead downrange pretty quick. They can be lethal, which I'm sure everybody understands, and the last thing we'd want is to hurt or kill somebody negligently. The last firearm safety rule is going to be aware of your target and what's behind it. So you'll notice if you go to a range, indoor ranges often have a sloped backstop in the back, and that's to catch the rounds because they go through targets. Outdoor ranges often have dirt berms to shoot into, again, to catch the rounds because they go through things. Bullets will often go a lot further than people think they will, so it's important to know what you're shooting at and what's behind it. Again, the last thing you want to do is negligently injure or kill somebody or even damage property. I debated whether or not to throw this in this video, but I think it is important. This one is not so much likely to kill you if it happens, but it's important. When you're shooting, and again, we'll just go ahead and re-clear this gun. There's no magazine inserted and no round in the chamber. When you're shooting, if you are shooting and everything's fine and you feel, or you shoot around and it feels or sounds off, perhaps underpowered, best course of action to do at that point is going to be to remove the magazine, clear the weapon, and go ahead and field strip it. And I say field strip it because there's always the likelihood, or I shouldn't say likelihood, but the chance that when you have a round that feels underpowered or sounds off, it's called a squib load, where a bullet there's enough powder in the case to propel the bullet into the barrel, but not enough to get it all the way out. And while that in and of itself isn't dangerous, the danger comes in when, if the gun were to chamber another round and you pull the trigger again, because that round is lodged, or that bullet is lodged in the barrel, the next bullet going through there is going to cause a pressure spike that the barrel or the gun is not prepared to handle, and will often blow the gun up. How bad that hurts you just depends on all sorts of things. You may escape it with just scratches, or you may have some life-altering injuries. So it's always good to just double check those, make sure that that round did exit the barrel, that you don't have a barrel obstruction. Most reputable factory ammo you buy, that's not going to be an issue, but if you're buying reloads or your friend hand loaded some for you, I would advise you to stay away from Bubba's basement reloads. I mean, I reload ammo, but I would not feel comfortable giving it to somebody else to shoot, just because the potential liability. So make sure that you're buying your ammo from reputable places, reputable companies, and just pay attention when you're shooting. I know it's easy to get carried away having a good time, but pay attention if something sounds off or feels off. Go ahead and take the extra time to check that out. At a bare minimum, you might be saving your gun from getting destroyed, and then on the other end, you may be saving full use of your limbs and digits. The other thing I want to talk about real quick before we close out is going to be ear protection. I think everybody knows that that's a good idea. You can absolutely permanently impact your hearing by shooting without adequate hearing protection. The other thing, though, that often gets overlooked, and I'm guilty of it myself from time to time, is eye protection. Cannot stress that enough. Bullets can hit things and come back. They do unpredictable things, and your eyes are very sensitive. And losing that sense of vision would not be a good thing, especially from something somewhat preventable. Eye protection is fairly cheap, and it's fairly common. You could pick it up at Walmart even, and I would advise you to do that. If you wear prescription glasses, they're not always going to be able to protect you from the same things that eye protection will. So depending on the severity of your prescription, you may be able to get by without that, just using standard eye protection, or there's always the option to have some custom eye protection made for you that will have your optical prescription worked into the lens. I didn't know how else to say it. So again, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and I don't think any of us want to go home seeing with one or possibly two less eyes than we went to the range with. I know this video is a little bit more boring than the other ones, and that's part of why I saved it to the end. I hope you guys learned something from it. Please keep this stuff in mind. If anybody ever ridicules you for trying to be safe, find somebody else to shoot with or hang out with. It's not really something that you should play games with. It is possible to still have a great time and be safe, so I would urge all of you to do that. Shooting can be a phenomenal hobby, and it's an absolutely awesome skill to have for a myriad of reasons. Whatever your reasons for getting into guns are, it's an awesome skill. It can be a very fun hobby as well, and it's very, very easy to be safe and still have fun with it. Hope that helps you guys out. Stay safe, keep shooting. I'll see you next time.